signs. So, the introduction. 10 years ago, I was walking along a beach in Brittany, relaxing after a tiring journey. A young couple emerged from what appeared to be an upmarket hotel and crossed in front of me. From their choice of swimwear, their hairstyles and their body language, they gave the impression of being continental Europeans. The few words of conversation I overheard confirmed them as Italians. The couple paused as the first wave washed over their feet. And then they did what a lot of people do at this point. They subconsciously check their valuable items of jewellery. Both their right hands moved to the fingers on their left hands. And it was this that drew my attention to the wedding rings. It did not take a huge leap from there, given their age and the luxuriousness of the hotel, to summarize that they were probably on their honeymoon. I had built a limited picture of this couple in less than 10 seconds, using very basic techniques of deduction that are fairly familiar, thanks to the countless detective stories that rely on this type of observation and logical thought. These simple thought processes have earned the nickname Holmesian. After the fictional detective who exemplified the art of analysing strangers in this way. Towards the end of the day, I saw the same couple again. They had started building a fire on the beach, using the clues I could see on the beach, including the birds, the lichens on the rocks, the insects, the clouds, the sun and the moon. I worked out that the sun would set in 40 minutes. The sky would cloud over shortly after that. Rain would follow soon after, and the tide would extinguish their small bonfire half an hour after sunset. If the couple had plans of a night of stargazing by the fire, then the sea and sky had other plans. They'd be forced to retire early, which in the circumstances would probably be no great tragedy. A pair of astronomers may have been disappointed by the passage of events that night, but a pair of honeymooners might well be delighted. I walked off the beach, so I cannot tell you exactly what happened on the sand that night. There are limits to our powers of deduction, but they lie far beyond the place most of us imagine. In truth, we rarely focus our powers of deduction and prediction on the natural world, but that is about to change. the second minute of our discussion, we decided that a walk from Scotland to London sounded about right. And by the third, we had settled on walking from Glasgow to London. We averaged over 20 miles a day and arrived in London 5 weeks after setting off. Having seen a good slice of Britain and no shortage of ugliness and beauty, I remember one day that walk very fondly indeed. We were there in the third week of our journey and had just begun walking up a hill in the Peak District when a pair of dark silhouettes appeared on the horizon. A few minutes later, we could see that they were serious walkers, or perhaps it would be more accurate to say that we could see that they were walkers with serious budgets. They had pieces of kit that I could neither afford nor spell, draped all over them and hanging down towards their gleaming gaiters. Their walking poles looked like they cost more than our rucksacks, and their contents combined. The two premium walkers paused opposite, looked down their noses at us in our t-shirts, shorts, and £19 trainers and said, "You don't want to go there dressed like that." It was a forgivable sentiment. We did, doubtless, look like a pair of clueless fools. They followed up with a question and a patronizing smile. "Where have you come from?" "Glasgow," Sam and I replied simultaneously. They fell silent, and we continued up the hill. Most of the walking books I have come across over the years get bogged down in obsessive attention to safety and equipment. I've rarely found myself enjoying these books, because I do not go walking with the purpose of staying within a world of perfect safety and comfort. Personally, I would rather die walking than die of boredom reading about how to walk safely. This is a theory I have experimented with over the years, as you will see. In this book, I will take the original approach of assuming that you are capable of walking safely and with roughly the right socks on. If you are the sort of person who likes to go ice climbing in a night tie, then you probably don't read many walking books, and I suspect it would take more than a book to mend your ways. With a handful of exceptions, my advice in the area of safety is 3 words long. Don't be daft. That said, everyone needs the right tools for certain jobs. This is a book about outdoor clues and signs and the art of making predictions and deductions. The aim of the book is to make your walks, however long or short, eminently more fascinating. I hope you enjoy it. Getting started. How can a smell make a train appear? One small clue can change the way you think about your surroundings quite dramatically. I would like you to imagine that you are on a walk on a cold morning and you pick up the faint, constant scent of musty smoke. However, you can see no sign of a fire. I want you to ask yourself what deductions and predictions you might be able to draw. Now think for a minute before reading on. Smelling smoke on a cold morning. If you can smell smoke in the air on a cold morning, it is likely that there is a temperature inversion which occurs when a layer of warmer air traps a cooler layer near the surface. The smoke from factories and home fires gets trapped near the ground and spreads along under the warmer layer, giving the air a musty whiff of smoke. When there is temperature inversion, it creates a sandwich effect, and sound, light, and radio waves get bounced between the top of a cool lower layer of air and the ground. Sounds travel further in those conditions and can be heard. More loudly, so you will hear airports, roads, or trains that you cannot normally. The effects can be more dramatic if there are any very loud noises nearby, and a violent demonstration of this effect took place in the middle of the last century. An explosion creates an extreme form of sound called a shockwave. In 1955, one of the earliest nuclear weapon tests in Russia created a shockwave that bounced back down off the aversion layer, knocked over a building in Semipalatinsk, and killed the 3 occupants. Light is refracted in an inversion, and this unusual bending of the rays leads to optical illusions. In normal atmospheric conditions, very distant objects appear shortened and squashed. This is why we often see a squashed fat sun at sunset. In an inversion, the opposite happens, and objects appear to be stretched vertically. This can lead to an optical illusion called a fata morgana, from the Italian nickname for atmosphere. These waves continue their journey in the sandwich layer, and it becomes possible to pick up stations that wouldn't normally be hundreds of miles out of the range. This technique is known as tropospheric ducting to radio harms, and was used extensively to pick up distant stations long before the internet made it straightforward. The smell of smoke in the winter air led to many an eavesdropped conversation behind the Iron Curtain during the Cold War. These conditions can also lead to interference, especially along coastlines, as stations that are normally a safe distance apart start to overlap. This interference creates a scrambled sound of radios. During an inversion, there is a high chance of fog in the evening or morning. If the trapped smoke and fog are dense enough, this can lead to smog. In 1952, a temperature inversion led to terrible smog that caused more than 11,000 deaths in London from respiratory problems. A temperature inversion is an intriguing meteorological phenomenon, but not a very healthy one, and it is fortunate that it will not normally last for long. Picking up one simple scent can take the mind on an extraordinary journey. Sense and thought, observation and deduction. This simple two-step process is the key to transforming a walk from mind-numbing to synapse tingling. One cannot work without the other. The brain can build wondrous edifices in our mind, but it requires the scaffold that our senses provide. This is the symbolic relationship. The brain is dull without the senses, and the senses become lazy without the brain's chivying. What a beautiful word, chivying. I like that. Fortunately, the brain's task here is fun and takes the form of a series of questions. Which way am I looking? What will the weather do? How far is that? What is the temperature? How old is this? What will I see next? These simple questions and many others, if answered without the aid of a dumb tools, and with clues from smells, shades, colours and shapes, will force the senses and mind to work together afresh and light an intriguing bonfire between the walker's ears. A fair warning should be issued here. This is not a process for all. Not everyone should be expected expanding qualities. This is best achieved by tackling the individual components that the walker is likely to encounter in turn. The ground, the sky, the plants, and animals themselves will be introduced individually so that the walkers can acquaint themselves with the clues contained. It should be remembered, however, that nature does not compartmentalize willingly, and so the real fun comes when we bring the disparate ingredients together in a great fresh pudding of deduction. While the curves in a tree's roots can act as a compass, the colours on a rock will reveal the best time to go for a night walk. Once all the elements become familiar, the chances of encountering that great outdoors experience, that giddy sensation that comes from tiptoeing towards the edge of total understanding, can be enjoyed and nurtured, but first it is necessary to do the groundwork. So that was an extract from the Walker's Guide to Outdoor Clues and Science. I hope it was relaxing. I hope you enjoyed listening.